Hi, so 30th of May 2026, and today I want to show you and go through and present this very unique book in the hope that it will illustrate what needs to happen to change things on this little blue marble that is going around the sun. And obviously I will tie that up to education, as I always do, particularly literacy and literate. And you don't want to miss the next post, because the next post I'm going to look at the original meaning of the word literate, as yes, as you've guessed, it's not the meaning that we use now. Very, very different, but I've acquired far more dictionaries from the last time I did it, and you will be amazed. But today I'm going to talk to you about Waterworks engineering. Now, this book is called The Principles of Waterworks Engineering. It's a 1905 copy, edition, beg your pardon, of an 1897 copy. And what is really fascinating with this is the reality and realization that the technology of waterworks, proper waterworks in urban areas, in towns, was well known already a couple of 100 years ago. Obviously it has improved now, but it's been known for a long time. And yet here are some stats that I've just pulled up from the World Health Organization from 20th February 2026. Very, very recent, right? 2.1 billion humans, 1 in 4 globally, lack access to safely managed drinking water. 3.4 billion humans lack safely managed sanitation services. 2.1 billion is a quarter. 3.4 billion is over a third of the human race lacks safely managed sanitation services. And 1.8 billion do not have access to water in their home or yard. Now, when you look at those figures, the whole thing just collapses. Because here we are going into space and doing all sorts of fancy things and having really high-tech stuff. And yet, those people who probably have no access to sanitation or proper water may well have access to mobile phones. Yeah, I know. And yet, that technology of waterworks for human use has been known for a long time. So this is I want to show you this. Right, and this is actually a very famous or important book in the field of civil engineering. Here you go, 1905 there, because it is a book that really laid the groundwork to civil engineering and waterworks for cities. And it is dedicated, and I'm going to turn my camera around again so you can show it, so I can show you. It is dedicated to the memory of a Thomas Hawksley Fellow of the Royal Society. And if you look up that man, he was born 1807, died in 1893, and he applied his talents almost exclusively to the enormous problems of urban living in an industrialized society. So this man worked at really establishing the principles of proper waterworks as a foundation. Obviously, things have improved since then, perhaps infiltration of water and so on and so forth, but the technology was there. And I'm going to show you, when I turn my camera around, I will show you some of the original designs which are copied at the back of the book, some of the technical drawings, as well as some of the works, so you can get a really good idea about that. Now it says here in the preface, the art of the civil engineer consists of the practical application of the most important principles of natural philosophy. And I've discussed natural philosophy in another post. This is the old term for physics, or what is now physics, although at the time it's the study of nature and phenomena around you that we can observe. What is very interesting in this preface, I'm not going to read the whole preface, it's a focus on observation, testing, practical experiments, which actually really follows a scientific method, which I've also discussed in detail in the post, which you can find in the playlist, original definitions of words under scientific. So you want to look at that, you'll get the original meaning and what the scientific method is all about. But here it says, whilst examples of sound engineering practice are within reach of all, the laws that govern it are frequently obscure. An orderly statement of the facts ascertained by experience will, however, throw light upon the principles involved. It has been our aim to investigate and classify the observations and rules employed, and to trace the steps taken by the engineer in proceeding from the inception, that's the beginning, to the completion of schemes of water supply. And this is, you know, when you read that, it really hits you, because you look around and what was the number? 3.4 billion people lack safely managed sanitation services. 1.8 billion do not even have running water in their home or their yard. And yeah, you can make what you will of it, but you know what? There is the money for it. You know, this is intentional. And what I find really amusing, well, amusing in a sarcastic way, obviously, it's the World Health Organization comes out with those figures to conveniently fit it in a 2030 program. You know, that program that they run. You'll have nothing and you'll be happy, and so on and so forth. But it's not just the WEF that runs that, the WHO also runs that. But interestingly enough, you have all these organizations and nothing is done about it. They just give the stats. And they're multi-million pound organizations. What are they doing? What are those people doing all day? You know, this is the astonishing thing. You know, it just hits you. Anyway, it says here, it is only by scientific investigation of the circumstances of individual cases, so individual situations, you know, towns, individual locations, that false analogies are avoided between more recent practice and the requirements of works contemplated. So what we're saying here, it discusses ancient practices, but the idea is you can't just look at ancient practices. But obviously we know the Romans, the Indians, the Greeks, all these people did have waterworks and it worked. But what it's saying in the book is you can't compare exactly like for like, because at the time, whilst the engineering was there, not all the scientific data on exactly how to do it with the right metals, with the right equipment, with the right inclination, you know, was established. I mean, they didn't have running water on tap, for example. So what it's just saying here, and it goes on in the preface, is that once you've got the principles of how waterworks operate, you basically can do it anywhere. This is really what it's telling you about. But to really observe and to compare. And it says here, our object has been to provide for the use of those engaged in the construction of waterworks an orderly and logical statement of the matters that specially occupy the attention of the engineer. So I'm going to turn my camera around and I'm going to show you the type of chapters that are in there and the illustration. And the drawings actually pull out, so I don't know I'm going to do that. But keep in mind that the technology is there, and if in every country you had enough people who really understood it, students, young people, civil engineers, they could do an extraordinary work. Now, of course, I know there's politics and all sorts of other things behind the scene to suppress people and keep them in those conditions. But the point is, in 2026, having a quarter of the human population and a quarter of the human population without access to clean water, and more than a third of the population without access to proper sanitation is not okay. And, you know, we have to look at things like that. Right, let me turn my camera around. All right, so here's the dedication. And we have the preface. And let's have a look at the chapter content. Sources of water supply, the measurement of water, the collection of water, the storage of water, the purification of water. Of course, some of these things will have advanced by now, but the basics are completely there. The conveyance of water, the distribution of water, the maintenance of waterworks, and the illustrations at the back. And I will just click through and you will see, you know, it has everything, the calculation. It's not actually too hard at all. Interestingly enough, it is really a usable book, and it is available on the internet, actually, in PDFs. So you can find that. I think any university student studying engineering or civil engineering would have no problem working that out at all. Even I can manage, which is good considering I've been shortchanged on my engineering degree. All right, so here we go. It's got all the technology in it. I'm going to show you at the end the waterworks. So it starts here, and here we have Now this is all the plates here are 1897, which means a lot of the works would have been earlier than that. They've just been included in that book. So here we have Lancaster Waterworks, right, which is north of Manchester in Lancashire. It's quite something. Then we have, let's get some other plates here, just an example. Here you go. This is the Worthington Pumping Engine, Windsor Castle Waterworks. What about this one? Oh, there's another one there. They're quite, they're wonderful. Here we have Davy Pumping Engine, East London Waterworks. Right, now all this is is not necessarily 97. It was in the 1800s. Sorry, 1897 is 1800s. The book, the plates here are dated 1897 because it was the first edition. Oh, we shouldn't do that one already, haven't I? Let's do the next one. This is a really interesting one. This way. This is Middlesbrough Waterworks. Quite interesting. Section of valve tower and screen wall. These are amazing. As I said, the Lancaster one and some of the the Middlesbrough one, some of the waterworks, they were done around the 1850s. So this is West Middlesex Waterworks, Willesden Service Reservoir. And I'll show you a couple more. Oops, let's do this one. Ooh, nice. Latham and Busker Waterworks. Interesting, isn't it? Water tower, elevation of water tower, water tank. So these are public works for water supply. What do we have here? Ooh, St. Helens. I've been to St. Helens. St. Helens Waterworks. Softening plant at Brown Edge. Isn't that amazing? So you're looking at 1800 drawings and waterworks construction drawings. So obviously the point I'm making here, and I've just demonstrated, is the knowledge is there. And once again, we have another field of study, another field of knowledge, which is not made accessible, although it is accessible. So it begs many, many questions. You know, in those countries where people do not have, the citizens do not have access to waterworks and to sanitation and to, running water, what are those countries doing? What are their governments doing? There is no reason. The technology is there. It's almost 200 years old. Well, it is about 200 years old. The technology is there. I even have this book here. Look, plumbing and sanitation engineer. Yeah, practical plumber and sanitary engineer. This is a 1940s. The technology is there. Why is that technology not used for the good of the citizens?